Hey everyone, welcome in. I'm Captivate, and I'm continuing to practice with Black Yellow Luffy. I think he's a pretty strong contender for me to take to Nationals, and I have a couple games for you today that include RP Luffy, Blue Doflamingo, and Lucci. As always, thank you so much for your support, and a like and subscribe means so much to me. I hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching. RP Luffy, I'm gonna take first from here. I'm not sure if first is correct or not. Generally, the Kuzan is pretty good. Luffy is really good because 8 into 6 helps a lot in the matchup, and then if they do end up starving you to try to get to late game, then he also works pretty well, so I'm going to go ahead and keep this hand. What I found to work the best is you just want to ping him as much as you can, just pressure life as much as possible with like 6s and 8s, and if something's rested, just swing into it. He's going to get pretty big hand size. If I just like jam him again here, he'll get a pretty big hand. He'll go like 9, 10 cards in hand. So I'm just going to play down the Luffy here because I'm sure he's going to starve me. So this will just help start to get through my life. And then the 8k beater from him is going to help us a lot going forward. And if he does play down something smaller in cost, then we can take a life and then play the Luffy. I'm totally fine using his ability here. I'm not pressured at all, and then this will hopefully get us into a pretty good spot to go to 9 next turn. The Raigo is going to help us because I know the Luffy's generally going to be playing some bigger characters. I want to play the Kuzan here. I could establish another Luffy, which I don't... That's definitely not bad. I have the Rocket Luffy, so I think I am going to just establish the Kuzan, and then this will let me get 2 8k swings, which is definitely going to get cards out of his hands because I don't think he's going to want to go to 0 here. Unless he just has nothing. I'm sure he's going to counter out of this one. And then we'll play down the Kuzan. Shirahoshi is good in this matchup as well because I'm relatively certain Luffy is playing like some of the 8 costs that Shanks plays as well, like the Rayleighs or Dragon. I'm guessing, I think Newgate is generally his 9-don play. Which if he does play Newgate, yeah, he does play the Newgate. Alright, so I'm going to 9. So what we can do is we can swing with Kuzan and then play the Shirahoshi blocker and then play Rocket Luffy and KO him. That's definitely a play we could do. I think that might be our best play, actually. I'm going to give him the 1k. I don't want to let the Luffy go quite yet. And then, yeah, he is 8k now. So do I want to use this Luffy ability? He could play... No, he could play the like 10 cost Luffy, and I think that kills us if I have 1 life. It wouldn't kill us, but we're not going to be taking a life off him. We'd be in a pretty bad spot if he plays 10 cost Luffy there. I kind of like the play that I mentioned where I like swing -4, he's 5. I could Raigo, which is 6. And then all I could do after that is heal 2. I don't hate that either. I think I'm going to save that for a 10 cost or when I don't have something like this set up. I wouldn't mind playing the Sabo here if I had the 5 cost Sabo. But instead, we're just going to do this, and then this will draw us a card. Get him off the board. Get a blocker down. Definitely not upset about any of that. I do know that the Luffy plays Diablo Jambe. At least, I don't know if they still are in OP09, but I know in OP08 they were. Yeah, I figured he was going to play another one there. We don't have the Rocket Luffy, but we do have the Shirahoshi that we could have done the same thing. I'm going to block that just because I want to keep the Kuzan. So now we actually... I think we do Raigo here. So I can Raigo, and then that will trash this life, and then I can go to 0, and then just leader effect into a Sabo. I can go Rocket Luffy Sabo. Yeah, I like that play. I do trash 1 life, but I think trashing 1 life is worth getting rid of the Newgate there, and then now we can swing 2 times into his life. We don't have a baby Luffy yet, which is a little bit scary for us. I think next turn I'm going to want to play the Luffy. Again, I could do the same thing I did last time because this Kuzan is going to stay alive. He does have one Dawn up, so it's probably Radical Beams. But I imagine he has the counter to get out of these two. And then we do get to keep our one life after doing the Raigo. The more I play with Raigo, there's just situations like... Oh, yeah, he runs Gum Gum. I totally forgot he runs that this set. He doesn't run Radical Beam anymore. That's the best event in the game. But yeah, there are times where like the Raigo just feels so useless, and then there's other times where it feels like one of the best cards in the deck. Just being able to get rid of those bigger bodies. I feel like if you play a more controlled version of Luffy this set, it's so strong against some of the leaders like this, where if I didn't have all the cost reduction, I couldn't get rid of those 2 9 costs, and now I have 2 10k swings coming at me every turn, but now I'm in a spot where we're going to go Moria next turn. Actually, I don't think we can go Moria next... Well, yeah, we don't have the baby Luffy in trash to go Moria, and we don't have one in our hand to counter out with. We'll have to see what he does, just to figure out what we want to do on our turn. I'm not too sure yet. We could, if he plays a big body, we could definitely like Raigo it and then get rid of... Okay, so he plays the Luffy. Yeah, I figured he was gonna play that. I'm gonna swing 7 at us, which I'm gonna have to counter out of. So on our turn, I would love to have a baby baby Luffy to get rid of to like Raigo this, or even to play the Shirahoshi off of a Moria, because we could swing with Kuzan, play Shirahoshi, play baby Luffy, KO that. I do have to give him 1k here, which I think I'm gonna give him. I do lose my buff, which is not good for us next turn. I'm gonna just give him the Shirahoshi here. And then I'm probably... I'm gonna have to put the Sabo in the trash because he's gonna swing 9 at us. Or he's not gonna swing... Oh yeah, he still has 9. And I do need to keep this alive, which I don't think will be too hard unless they like Diablo John by that. But because I don't have a baby Luffy, I think I'm going to end up needing to get rid of it with this Luffy. I think regardless I block this swing, whether it goes here or life. And then all he can do here is swing 8. Which he could swing 8 at life. And then honestly, if he does that, I'm not... No, that does get rid of my only Rocket Luffy. Yeah, we'll block there. I'm guessing he's going to go 9 at life. 6 at life. I definitely want to counter out of this. Maybe... I'm not sure what he... Oh, he's probably going to keep Dawn up for... Oh, yeah, Sanji. Okay, so we did not get the Rocket Luffy, or Baby Luffy. We have Baby Sabo. So we definitely could. I think we're going to have to get... Yeah, we have to get rid of this life regardless. Okay, and we do draw into the Baby Luffy, so that is great for us. So here, I think we Raigo this, and then we Baby Luffy the Rocket Luffy. Yeah, and then we just put a Sabo under the Rocket Luffy because we have 2 Sabos. We swing 8 at life. That's going to be 2 cards. So alternatively, we could go Luffy Sabo, but we need to leave the 1 life, I think, to play around the Diablo Jambe, and then this will get a 12k off the board, which is pretty scary for us. It really doesn't develop much board, but we're mitigating his board at least, and then he's only going to go to 7... Yeah, he's only going to go to 7 Dawn next turn, and then we can just play Moria after that because we'll have the Baby Luffy in life. Yep, and then now we are going to heal... What do we heal into here? The Oh man, we could get rid of the... I think we have to go into a Sabo here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I was totally spacing on the Baby Luffy there. We didn't have to play the Baby Luffy. I do want to get the Baby Luffy in trash. So I think maybe I just trash that off leader effect. Yeah, just so I have it set up for next turn. Just so in case he doesn't end up swinging into us. And then we're going to go Rocket Luffy Sabo. Alright. And then now that will set up us being able to KO something off the Kuzan. Something 8 or less. So we could get rid of the Sanji or something like that. Yeah, he's going to block anyways. Alright. And then now we're set up for Moria next turn. And then the Sabo will draw us 2 cards. Luffy will draw us another card. So that'll be 3 more cards we're able to see to potentially draw into another Moria. I think we've generally navigated getting to like looping Moria. That's a lot of what this deck is navigating the game until you get to a board state like this. And that's the hardest part. And then once people see you with a board state like this, they're like, oh, Luffy's so easy. Alright, so this is going to be 7. And then I'm guessing he's going to go 7 again and keep 1 Don up for another giant. Or he may keep both up. But I definitely need to counter out of this. I don't think it's worth losing my Sabo because I do have 2. Well, I'm going to have to play... No, I think getting the swing out of it is fine. Or what I could do is just play over the Kuzan. I think I'd probably play over the Kuzan because I'm not going to need to KO anything. Okay, so with that... Yeah, I think we still keep this Sabo standing. And then I'm going to play over the Kuzan. The Luffy is going to get us a card draw. Just make sure we have everything lined up. We're going to have Baby Sabo, Baby Luffy, and then we will use that. We have 1 Sabo. Yeah, so we'll just heal into him and then Sabo. So Sabo, Luffy, and then Luffy. We'll use this. All right, and then now we can trash. Oh, before we do that, we'll do Luffy, which I'm sure he has a giant here. Or at least I'm sure he has a giant in one of these swings. All right, yeah, and then he counters, or he ends up forfeiting there. He could giant, and then the Luffy, yeah, you can't activate blocker. I think that's what that card does. Yeah, but we would have the extra life behind the Sabo, so not too scared of that. In this matchup, being able to KO his bigger bodies with Raigo, it just swings it in your favor so much. Because he generally is very similar to Shanks now, I think, just with purple as well, where he's just going to play a bunch of big bodies, and if you can KO them, there's really not much he can do, and then just being able to get those like 6 and 8k swings into him is what's going to win you the game. You just have to make sure that you never go to 0, because the 10 cost Luffy, you lose your buff, so you have to play around that. And then they do have cards like the Luffy or the Diablo Jambe, which I don't see. I'm not sure if they still run that in 09, but I know in 08 they did. So still just play around it. You never know if they're going to have like a 1 random copy of it in their deck, and then that's how you lose. So just play around anything that their colors could have. And against Doflamingo, I want to go 2nd. And then generally what I'm looking for in a mulligan is Rocket Luffy is good, the Nami is a good tech card for this matchup, and then any babies that I can play out to play around Pudding is generally what I'm looking for. I don't love that I have 2 Morias here, but because I already have these other pieces, I'm good to keep this. And then we'll just play down the Luffy. I feel like half of the time he gets bounced back by them playing a Bounce Law, but it's better to just play him on the board. Yeah, so I feel like we'll see a Bounce Law here. Yep, and then he's going to bounce him back. And then we'll just play him back down next turn. 7, I'm going to take. Generally, we're going to play... Yeah, we'll play down the Luffy for sure. And then I'm just going to swing 7 into the Jinbei. In the earlier turns, it's just important to pressure their board and get cards out of their hand if they want to keep things. But you don't want to let them go too wide. And then if I ended up just swinging at life, then Dofi's obviously going to want to take his life. So then it's harder for me to kill his board. As Luffy, we generally win the game as if we can get into the later game. So there's really no reason to not just swing at their board, because the longer the game goes, the more favored we are. Once we can get into our Moria turns and then have a 9k base, it's pretty hard for Dofi to really do anything unless they are running like the 10 cost draw Kaido or anything like that. Right now, I think I'm going to just play out the Luffy. So I'm going to swing 6 first. And the reason I'm swinging first is in case they have a Gravity Blade. I'll swing first just so that we can play around that trigger, which I'd rather them bottom that than the big Luffy. I could play this out and then just have it set up to KO something next turn, but this way I can play him down, so on my next turn I can use his ability to trash a life and then play down this Luffy to KO something if I needed to, if he decides not to swing into me. We are at 7 cards now, so I would like to not take another card. So I think I am going to counter out of this, so this will just get our Nami in the trash for later to use with Moria. I don't want to go too high in hand size. Playing around the like 6 or 7 range is generally what I want to do. And then now, so he has 3 swings or 4. He could have 4 with the Sengoku. We have 3 life. I'm gonna go ahead and take this. We'll go up to 7. And we are going into our 8 dawn turn. So if I can't awaken next turn, I will happily do that. So I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the Flampe and the Shirahoshi to get out of this. And the reason being, he has 4 on, so he's likely looking to play pudding here. And if I counter out of this with these, I'll go down to 5 in hand. And then all I have to do is I can Luffy this life and then Hiyori this into life. And then I go to 0. I really don't have too many other things or any other babies. But yeah, I'm going to do this to play around pudding. And then if he wants to swing the law, I'll take it. But yeah, we do have a lot of bricks here, and we haven't seen a Sabo yet, so the cycling from Sabo is going to help us a lot if we can end up seeing one. There's the baby Sabo. Okay, so we can use the Luffy to go to 1 life, and then Hiyori this Luffy into life, use that, that's 2 Don, and then 2 Don on leader. Let's go ahead and use this. Alright, I would have liked to have the Garp there, honestly. I'm really looking for a Sabo, but yeah, so we'll just KO the Weevil, draw another card. Alright, so we unfortunately do not have another Sabo. We don't have another way to awaken, and we're going to heal to 1 life, so this is very not good for us. We don't have a 5 cost to play either, or a 4 cost. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try and just mitigate letting them have attackers, because we are only going to have 1 life, which really stinks because I would love to go to 2 life here. And I can play, so if I played on a Sabo, I think I might need to counter out with these Sabos. But yeah, I think I just want to make sure that these die just so he can't get too many 7k swings. And I'm going to hold these in my hand because I have such little amount of cards in my hand with counter. So this is one of the reasons why I really could have mulliganed my first hand with the Morias, because it did have the 2 Morias. They are kind of going to be a brick, and I was more hoping that I would be able to draw into the Sabo. I'm guessing that he's... No, I don't see any world where he keeps those alive. Yeah, we're just going to lower his board a little bit. We're in a pretty bad spot right now because he can just split up his Dawn and go 888, and that's really only 1 2k. Yeah, so if we take this, we're going to lose our only 5 cost, which is very not good for us, and I think we've already lost at this point. We just didn't see any 5 costs or any way to search for our 5 costs. Sabo would have helped a lot. I have to counter out of this. And then I imagine he goes 7, 8 here, which I'll have to counter out of the 7. Or 9. Alright, that's not good either. It does give us a 5 cost in the trash, so I'm not honestly too upset about that. Because I'm going to play Moria, and then the Moria is going to get me a Nami, which is going to draw a card for us, and then play the Luffy, and then I'm just going to hope that in these 2 card draws we're able to get another 5 cost to heal into. Or actually, we could heal into both Luffys, so yeah, we're fine with doing that. Yeah, so I'm going to play Nami, play Luffy off of the Moria. Nami standing, Luffy. All right, Sabo is great for us. Times like this, the Nami is really clutch, getting the extra card. Yeah, so now we can heal the Sabo on the bottom and the Luffy on top, just so that in case they decide to swing into us, we can just... Okay, good. So now we have baby Sabos. Yeah, so the reason I'm going to put the Sabo on the bottom is if they do decide to swing like 9 or 10 into us, then I'll just get rid of this Sabo, and I don't want to lose either of these, Luffy or Sabo. I think I don't see any way where we lose both of them. The one thing that I am thinking is I don't really want to play this Luffy off of Amoria. And if they don't decide to swing into me, then I'm going to have to, but I think I'm all right with that. I'd rather have to play into this Luffy than lose one of these two cards by them swinging into it. And then I think here I'm going to just go 9 at the Jinbei. They either give me 3 cards for it. Yeah. I'd rather them give me 3 cards now than take another life. Because like I said, we're really just trying to play for the late game, and we have 3 Morias, so as long as we can get to 9k by playing these Morias, there's really no way we end up losing, because we're just going to be able to apply too much pressure to them. Yeah, so if I take this and bottom this, he could play a Law for 4, bounce her, and then swing 9, and I don't have a way to get out of that, so I really don't want to lose the Sabo right now, because he's going to help me draw into the rest of what I need. I'm gonna hold the babies in my hand. I actually yeah, just making sure. I generally always hold the babies in my hand for later game. I think that's how you should play Luffy. Just so that you have a little bit more sustain, as long as you have something in your trash to play. Yeah, so I kind of figured he wasn't gonna try and jam this life, but I'm fine with getting him on board. We can play the Rocket Luffy next turn. And we're at a point now where I really don't need to swing into this because I'm going to go 9k base, and now I'll have 2 life if I have the... Yeah, I'll go 9k base with 2 life, so I'm in a really good spot now, and I'm going to swing first. Again, just playing around the Gravity Blade trigger. I do want to make sure that I get the 11k swing into life, so I do want to like do my whole loop after swinging Moria, but now this is just one less card that they can Gravity Blade my Sabo with. Then Sabo, we don't need either of those. And yet, like, I would love to have the card draw from the Rocket Luffy there, but I'm fine with just, like, just using the Moria to grab him back was better than them getting rid of our Sabo, as I was saying, so I'm alright with that. And now we have a pretty big beater. I'm gonna get rid of the Sabo just so we can hold a 2k. And then I'm gonna go this one on the bottom, because now if they don't end up taking this life, I can just trash it with him and then do my Moria and then play him, and then I'll play over the Sabo to get the Sabo in trash. And then we swing 11 at life. There's no reason to swing at the Jinbei, because if they want to hit our 9k, them having 1 extra body isn't going to do anything for them. Alright, so they'll go 9, and then they can go 9, and then, yeah, they can only get 1 other 9 in, or they could go like 11. He does have 7, and because he has 7, I'm thinking that I could just use the Sabo here to block, just so that I guarantee it goes in the trash. I kind of think I want to do that, because if he was... I get that the math lines up, that he could just be swinging with the biggest one first, and he's just going to swing another 9 or 10, but I want the Sabo in trash to play, so this will just guarantee that I get the Sabo in trash to play back out. And then if he wants to Gravity Blade these two, I'm fine with doing that. Okay, yeah, so he ends up playing that. I want the card draw from the Luffy, but at the end of the day, it's really not the worst thing in the world. What I can do, I think I want to keep the Nami here because I'm not going to have another Sabo, so Let's just go ahead and swing Moria. I'm sure he has the counter to get out of these. He's Dofi and he runs 12 2Ks in a lot of lists, 10 or 12. But we'll just see what he ends up countering out of here. All right. I'm sure he'll take that, and then I'm sure the 11 from our leader is going to put him to 0. Just trying to think of what I want to do here. We only have one Luffy in trash, so yeah, like I said, I want to keep the Nami here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play Sabo Luffy, transform into this Luffy, and then use his ability to trash this one, draw a card, and then we'll heal, and then play Sabo. Yeah, I think that's our best play here. I really hate playing over a Moria, but in the current state of the game, having double blocker is going to be a lot more beneficial for us than having one extra Moria here, because I'm sure my 11k swing is going to take him to 0. And then I'm really like I'm gonna have another Moria, so we'll go ahead and just do that. So we're gonna go Luffy and then Sabo over Moria. Use this Luffy, and then now we're gonna leader effect into Sabo, and then I'll trash him. And yeah, we'll go Sabo and then this Luffy. So let's use his ability to trash that. We do go down one less life, but because we already had the loop going, I'm fine to go 9k with one life. We're really not in a bad position because we have 2 blockers, and he can Gravity Blade them both, and if he does that, he can only get the one swing with him. And yeah, now we go 11 with leader. And then pass, and if he does end up playing a Boa or something, 9k, we're just going to counter out of these, keep whatever we can alive. I'm going to keep the Garp in case he ends up playing a Boa. It'll just let us search for a baby Luffy because we only have the one in trash. Okay. So yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure he just did that because he didn't have anything else to do. But yeah, I kept the Garp because if he did end up playing a Boa, then I could just play down the Garp for 1 Don to just see if I find the baby Luffy there to grab him off and then KO the Boa. But yeah, like I said, if you can just get to the late game and then play the Morias, this matchup's pretty easy for Luffy. It's really hard for Dofi to contest a 9k leader unless they are running like the 10 cost Kaido, or they get a bunch of Gravity Blades that they get to play out and get rid of your 5 costs. Once you start cycling with the Sabos, it's pretty helpful in just having the pieces you need. Against Lucci, we definitely want to go second. And generally what I'm looking for in this matchup, it's really favored towards Luffy, so it's not too hard. Generally my rule of thumb is you really can't lose if you see Sabo. That's been my, you know, what I've, all right, so unfortunately we whiffed that. Yeah, sorry, but as I was saying, I really don't think it's possible to lose if you see Sabo, unless, I mean, there are times where you just don't see any way to take your life, but as long as you have a Sabo, the game's pretty easy, so generally when I mulligan, if I have a Sabo, I keep it, if not, I mulligan and look for a Sabo. I think the only times I've really ever lost against Lucci is when you don't have a Sabo. It makes it a lot harder to get anything to stick on the board, and Sabo is the reason that this matchup is so losing for Lucci. So here we just jam face. We have nothing else to do. Obviously don't play the Sabo because it's just going to get KO'd, the baby Sabo, and we don't have 5 Don to play anything else. Here I'm going to just swing 6, and then I'll play the Sabo just to cycle our hand a little bit. We have all the Morias, which really isn't very good for us right now because we have no way to take our life. And then I might actually end up using this Ice Age because if he plays a Moria, I can just Ice Age it and then KO it with the Rocket Luffy. I definitely want to get rid of the Nami. I'm not going to be playing that anytime soon. And then I think here I'm going to just get rid of the Rocket Luffy because I don't have any way to take my life. I definitely could get rid of the Moria. I just don't like... Honestly... No, I don't think I can do that. I'm going to just get rid of the Luffy here. This is kind of one of the ways that Lucci really ever has a chance against Luffy, if he has absolutely no way to take his life, and then they are able to just build up a big enough board, but he's just playing these little Luccis, which really don't ever do anything to us. because I can KO them so easily with the Rocket Luffy. If he had a Jack there, it would have been better just because it's a higher stat line. Um, and then here I'm gonna just swing. So I think I could go 7-7 with the Sabo and the leader, which I think I'm gonna go ahead and just do. I really don't have any reason to keep him on the board. And then I'll play the Rocket Luffy and use his ability just to get rid of one of my lives. And then one thing to think about is he does have 4 characters that can swing at me, and I'll only have 3 life, but I have enough counter that these would never really be like threatening swings. All I have to do is get out of one of them, and then he would essentially just waste his entire turn trying to pressure my life. So I'm really not scared of him doing anything to me, and I think instead he's going to just Ice Age and then use the Brook to KO the Luffy to get him off the board, and then I imagine he'll just swing into the Sabo. And I'm not going to give him any cards for the Sabo. We're in a little bit of an awkward spot here where if I had a Kuzan in trash, I'd be more than happy to just play out the Kuzan with the Moria and just play like a value Moria that way. And yeah, I'm obviously like if I give him one card here, it's just going to be 6/6. There's no reason to keep him alive. And we get another Luffy, so I'm going to play him down and use his ability and just see if we get anything out of life that I can use. And we did not, so I think I have 2 options here. I can just swing 10 and then eat the block with the Rebecca. He's now at a spot where he has more swings than I have life, so I think I'm just going to play down the Shirahoshi here just to get a blocker so that it's something he has to use reduction on to KO, and then he'll have to spend Dawn getting rid of the Shirahoshi here. If he doesn't remove the Luffy, then we can pretty easily just go to 0 next turn. But I'm guessing he's going to get rid of the Lucci here. I do only have 2 life, and then he has 3 like pretty threatening swings, and I don't have much counter, so I don't think I really should have taken that life. I kind of just autopiloted it. Yeah, so now I don't have any counter, so yeah, so this is a really good trigger for me because I can just get rid of one of his attackers this way. And then I need to counter out of this swing just so that he doesn't KO this pretty easily and then jam everything on Brook and I lose. I want to keep the Luffy so I can go to 0 next turn. I actually could just block here, and then if I block, then he could go 5 with Rebecca, and then Brook is 5. He could go 6 and then 7. So I might just take the free block here. Yeah, I think I am just going to block here. I don't see any reason to not, because if he does go 6 and then 7, I'm more or less fine with him doing that. I'll just take the 6 and then counter out of the 7. And that way I would be at 0. But yeah, I assumed he would do something to get him off the board, because him sticking is a little bit too bad. The unfortunate thing for us here is I don't have a baby Luffy. So I'm going to have to just hard play him. He doesn't have any cards in hand. He's really gone through his hand here. Yeah, Flampe would have been a lot nicer earlier, but you gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not gonna end up playing the Ice Age at all now, because I'm gonna be playing Morias from here on out. And here I'm gonna just play, I'm obviously gonna play the Sabo, and I'm gonna set up a Rocket Luffy behind it, just so that I can KO or Rebecca that they potentially play. And then I'm going to get rid of a Raigo and then a Moria. I don't think the game's going to last long enough for me to play 3 Morias. And then I'll just jam Face, which he'll just block, I assume. He definitely could go like 7-7-7 and just get like 2 or 3 cards out of my hand. I think that's probably the optimal play here, and then play a Sabo if he has a Sabo. But now that we can play Moria, I'm really not too scared. Yeah, so we can go 9. I'm going to end up having to take this at some point, I think. And after this, he can go 8 and then 9. So I think I'm going to just take this one. Yeah, and then the 8, I need to get out of the 8 with the 2 2Ks. Actually, I only needed 1 2K. I'm so dumb. I only needed 1 2K there. And then we'll block. Yeah, a little bit of a misplay on my part. And here we're gonna go Baby Sabo, Baby Luffy, and then we're gonna play Rocket Luffy and Sabo. And trash that. Sabo, Rocket Luffy. In this matchup, generally, I would like to play the Sabo over the Rocket Luffy and then keep the Rocket Luffy for a turn. But because I want the extra card draw, I'm going to go ahead and just pop him now. I think I could just pop... I'm thinking about popping... if I pop the Lucci... So if I don't pop the Lucci, he can go 9, which is 3 Dawn, and then 9, which is another 4, that's 7 Dawn. So he could really only get 2 swings into me, which he could do with those 2 anyway. So I think I'm fine to just trash the Rebecca here and get a swing into life. And we'll get rid of Rocket Luffy and Garp. And then now we can go 8 and then 11. And then next turn we can play another Moria, and then we should win. Depending on what happens here, what I could do, if he plays like a Rebecca or something, I could just play down the Luffy and heal into the Rocket Luffy, KO Rebecca, and then just end the game. Because he doesn't have too many cards in hand. But yeah, we really didn't have too great of a start there. We didn't have any way to take our life. But in this matchup, it's so favored for you once you see the Sabo. There's really not too much Lucci can do. He could swing a couple times. I'm not sure why he's going to swing with 1 Dawn. I think he didn't realize that that was an 8. Let me just take that one. Yeah, well, he didn't have anything he could do with the Dawn anyways. I'll trash the Garp here just so we can keep the Luffy in our hand. And then he does get rid of our Moria. So if I swing 9, I think I have lethal here because that's 7, 9, and then 10. So that would take all of his cards to get out of a 9. And then I just have 2 5k swings, or 1 5, 1 7. And then that would be game. Yep. And then now we just go 5 with our leader and then 16 with Sabo. But there's no way he can get out of this. This matchup's just a little bit too favored for Black Yellow Luffy. I mean, it has been all of OP08, so because Lucci still has relevancy this set, I think that Luffy still has a lot of relevancy because you're going to be facing Lucci's, I would imagine, in tournaments.